I don't feel like those cravings were natural. Hi guys, welcome to my channel where we talk all things holistic health and wellness. The goal is to live our freest, happiest, healthiest life with plants as our fuel. My name is Lauren. I have a bachelor's degree in nutrition and 6 years of living plant-based under my belt. I'm so psyched you're here. Today we are talking about something that has had a massive impact on my life, my overall health, and the way I feel, and it is giving up refined sugar. I'm going to talk about why and what prompted me to do this, the steps I took to give up sugar, what I eat now, and a bunch of tactical tips and tricks that you can use to give up refined sugar if you're interested in doing that and making that switch in your own life. So let's get to it. So I recently did a video on date sweetened granola, and I mentioned in that video how I don't use refined sugar anymore, how I gave it up many years ago, and I had some requests in the comment section of that video to do a follow-up on why I gave up sugar, how I gave up sugar, and that whole story. This is something that I am super passionate about because it had such a massive impact on me, and I really just wanted to share the story with you in case you find yourself in a similar situation. My sugar story, I mean, I guess it's always existed since I was a kid. I remember being a kid and loving sugary foods. We always had ice cream at my house. We had cookie dough in the freezer all the time that we would just eat. My mom and dad both loved chocolate so much. My dad was the biggest milkshake fan ever. So needless to say, as a kid, we had tons of sugar around. I ate a lot of sugar, and that continues. So even though I went fully plant-based 6 years ago, I still was baking a lot and using sugar to bake. I was experimenting a lot with vegan desserts, and although that was really fun, I had one recipe that was literally for vegan Cadbury cream eggs, which were insanely good, but I was still using sugars to sweeten that. Like in those, there was agave. I had this relationship with sweet stuff and with sugar, and I craved it. So every night after I would get home from work and eat dinner, about 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, I craved something sweet every single night after dinner, and I just was in this pattern for years of doing that. After I eat something savory, I need something sweet. And I guess this isn't even just at dinner, because I remember being at work, like I would have lunch and then crave something sweet, so I would go get like some sort of like coffee and put like a million Splendas in it or something. So it still was that salty sweet, and my body was constantly in this mode of craving sugar. Now a lot can go into that. I wasn't really fueling myself with these whole plant foods, and that really is a huge part of why I feel satisfied and that my body doesn't crave sugar. Instead, I was eating things and like watching my calories, and then I would finish eating and then I would crave something sweet, and it was just this nasty kind of cycle. And I feel like that was an unhealthy relationship with sugar because I don't feel like those cravings were natural. I almost feel like I was trained. I had trained myself to eat dinner and then want sweets after, and I did get really sick of that and annoyed with that, and I got frustrated with that, but not frustrated enough to stop doing it. Like I always wondered, why is this the way it is? But I wasn't frustrated with myself enough to actually stop. And I think definitely from this whole relationship with sugar, my taste buds were really out of whack. This is a whole other story, but in college I studied nutrition, and I also became like obsessed with counting calories, and I had a really unhealthy relationship with food back in college. I can definitely do another video on that, but I remember going to get coffee. I would get a large Americano and I would put 7 Splendas in it. Now, first of all, I don't even want to start talking about Splenda, but 7 is insane, and my taste buds were so out of whack that I thought like I needed that much and was like desiring that much flavor of sweetness. And that's at a time when I was eating a lot of different like processed like diet foods and low fat foods, and my taste buds were so out of whack. So one thing that I've found since giving up sugar is that my taste buds have completely kind of reset, and now things that weren't sweet to me are really sweet to me. Fruit is so sweet to me now, and before I would never be satisfied with that. I believe that I was kind of addicted to sugar because I did crave it every single day after dinner. It wasn't like a choice that I was like, I think I'm gonna have dessert tonight. No, it was like, I need dessert, I need something sweet now. And when even though I was vegan, I would make sure it was some sort of vegan dessert, it's still, I needed that sugar kick, and that was really annoying. But it wasn't annoying enough for me to actually stop until I got a toothache. When I was little, I smashed my 2 front teeth on a floor dancing with my sister. So I had the teeth like built up when I was young and then capped as a teenager. When I started getting a toothache, it was in one of my front teeth, and I went to a dentist. He said I needed a root canal. I said, okay, I scheduled a root canal, and then I went home and started researching and reading all about root canals. This video is not about root canals, but I decided that I really would like to avoid getting a root canal. So I started researching how I could holistically heal a toothache, and that led me to sugar. Bacteria feeds off sugar. So it was pretty much overnight that I decided no more sugar. It was more important to me to try to heal whatever was going on in my mouth than to eat sugar. So I actually did stop sugar cold turkey, and this was a long time ago, so I cannot remember if I had severe withdrawal symptoms. I did a lot of research on this, and a lot of people do experience sugar withdrawals. If you're really dependent on it, if you have a lot of sugar every day, it's totally possible to go through withdrawals from sugar, just like a drug. It is temporary, it will pass, you will get through that hump and get to the other side where you're not craving sugar anymore. So although that kind of change for me was overnight, it was hard, and that is why I've come up with this list of tips to give up sugar. It's based on my own experience. I can tell you that years later, since giving up sugar, so much has changed for me. First and foremost, I do not have this unhealthy relationship with sweets anymore, which feels incredible. It feels so liberating. I feel like I used to be owned by sugar almost. Like I needed it, I had to figure it out. It was, that time of day, I needed to get sweets. I don't feel that way, and that feels incredible. And now, if I do want something sweet, if I want to make like a nice cream with a delicious chocolatey flavor or something, it's not coming from this place of like, I need sugar now. I need it's a completely different place than it was before. It's because I really want to enjoy the food and enjoy the taste, and that craving and addiction has been broken and doesn't exist anymore, which is incredible. Now, I bet I could probably go right back to the place I was before because I feel like sugar is that addictive, which is why it feels so incredibly liberating to have broken that and not be dependent on having a sugar fix every night after I eat dinner. A second change is that fruit is now so sweet to me. I remember when I was like back having those tons of Splenda and baking with white sugar, I would have fruit and it was like, okay, sweet, but not that sweet. Now I eat fruit and it is literally like candy. It is like nature's candy. It's so good and it is so sweet, and I can really like enjoy all those flavors. So I think my taste buds have completely kind of reset and changed since giving up sugar. This kind of falls in with the first one, but I'm not driven by sugar anymore, which that is the best feeling. I'm not owned by that. I don't have those cravings anymore, and it feels so freaking liberating. I have more energy now. The thing with being addicted to sugar is you're reliant on sugar for getting those energy spikes. And now I am not reliant on sugar for getting those energy spikes. I get my energy from the healthy habits I have, from the whole food plant-based diet I have, and I do not require sugar to bring me energy. My skin has cleared up. Now, I used to get really bad cystic acne on my chin area. I still sometimes have a little breakouts, but it was really bad years ago. Like it was cystic, which means it was those like bumps all throughout my jawline, and I couldn't figure out why. And over time, since giving up sugar and cleaning up my diet to really arrive at a whole food plant-based diet, my skin has completely cleared up. Another thing that really changed is bloating. Before, I seriously was always bloated. I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know why. I hated the way it felt. Like my stomach was always extended and it just felt like crap. It was something that it's not a big deal, but it just was kind of uncomfortable and annoying. Like I remember if I was gonna be wearing a tight dress or something and I was going somewhere, like thinking about this in my head, like, oh, I better not have like X, Y, and Z this morning because then like I'll be bloated in the dress. It was just such a waste of energy to kind of be thinking like that. For moving away from sugar and processed foods, moving to a whole food plant-based diet, I no longer feel that way. I don't feel like I need to think every day about when I'm gonna be bloated, and it's just, my body has kind of just settled into a beautiful place. And I think getting rid of sugars and processed food is a huge reason for that. And I think the biggest benefit since giving up sugar is that I know that I'm setting myself up for this beautiful future, just being a healthier human being. Sugar has been linked to so many crazy things, and I'll link studies on this below, but obesity and heart disease and cancer and Alzheimer's. Last year, I lost my dad to a heart attack, and my dad always did the things that he wanted to do and lived in the way that he wanted to live, which, you know, I love that about his spirit. But I know that his lifestyle choices and his foods were a huge factor in why his life was cut so short. I am making choices so I live the healthiest, most happiest, beautiful life that I can. And I know food is such a part of this equation. And I know what it felt like to be eating sugar all the time. I know that it was taking away from my health rather than contributing to it. So it feels really good to know that I'm making choices that are contributing to a beautiful, bright, healthy future. The best part about this is you can give up sugar and have this incredible, healthy diet where you're enjoying foods. You can enjoy treats and sweets still in a different way with natural fruit sugars. The beautiful thing is I don't feel like I gave anything up really. I feel like I've gained so much since making this change, just health-wise, and I just feel happier, healthier, and so many symptoms have dropped off, and it's just a lot less energy is going toward those kind of like symptoms and annoyances, and instead I can put all this energy into my life and the things I want to focus on. We're gonna go over my tips for switching from refined sugar to just natural sugars in a second, but I just want to go over some basics on sugar first. What is refined sugar and how is it different from natural sugar? Refined sugar is processed, which means that the fiber and nutrients have been taken out of it. So it usually comes from sugar cane or beets, which might sound like a good thing and a plant source, but then it is actually heavily processed. It goes through an extraction and purification process, which removes all of those really good nutrients from the beets and from the sugar cane, and you're left with this processed refined sugar. Refined sugar is basically an empty calorie food, which means it doesn't have nutrients. This is why it's so different eating a refined sugar from a natural sugar. With natural sugar, you are getting all of those beautiful plant nutrients and fibers and minerals and vitamins, and you just don't get any of that with refined sugar. Fiber helps to stabilize our blood glucose levels by slowing the rate of absorption of sugar in our bloodstream. The more refined and processed something is, usually the more that we want of it. So what do you actually want to eliminate? Any kind of refined sugar. So white sugar, invert sugar, sugar in the raw, confectioner's sugar, brown sugar, palm sugar, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, agave, cane juice, evaporated cane juice. I would also recommend paying attention and watching out for any kind of sugar alcohols like sorbitol or erythritol, xylitol. All of these things can kind of throw our taste buds out of whack if you're trying to really quit sugar. So I would stay away from that as well. I would also stay away from non-nutritive, non-caloric sweeteners, sucralose, aspartame, saccharin, neotame. There's so many artificial sweeteners out there. There's a lot of different studies that have actually found some of these sweeteners to be dangerous. I will link some studies out below, but I would stay away from them also because they're gonna mess with your taste buds too. Your body's still gonna be craving things if you are giving them that hit of really crazy artificial sugar. What about stevia? So I'm a fan of stevia. I've used stevia for a long time, but not all stevias are created equal. If you've ever heard of stevia in the raw or Truvia, a lot of these processed stevias are cut with other things, and they can actually have dextrose and other fillers in these stevias. I don't really suggest moving to a stevia that has other things in, because you know, you've moved away from one thing, refined sugars, but now you're adding in something else. So if you are going to try stevia, look for a stevia that is pure, just the stevia. Stevia comes from the leaves of the stevia plant. If you can get it in a really pure natural form, I think it's great. It is a lot sweeter than sugar. It's like 200 to 400 times sweeter. So a little goes a long way. If you're going to use stevia, look for the highest quality stevia you can possibly get. I'm gonna link up my favorite brand below, but you really want to get a pure natural stevia that isn't cut with anything else. If you're kind of in this addictive state with sugar, it might be better for you to just completely forego any of the sweetener while you're in a period of detox, because stevia is really sweet. If craving sugar every day is an issue, it might not be the best thing to work stevia in right away, because your body will still be craving that sweet. And that is something that we're trying to break with giving up sugar, is not craving that sweet. So I think that stevia can be used sometimes, but if you're in kind of an addictive state, it might not be that helpful to use right now. You know now what kind of sugars to stay away from. Instead, you want to focus on whole natural fruit sugars. So dates, raisins, bananas, applesauce. You can get totally creative with your dates too. You can get date syrup. I've been ordering this awesome date syrup from Thrive Market. I will link that below. If you don't have access to date syrup or you want to make it yourself, I'm going to link up an IGTV video I just did this week on how to make your own date paste. It's so easy, and you can use that as sweetener if you want to sweeten your ice cream, or you want to sweeten your muffins or granola balls. Date paste can be used in so much, and it's so good and has all the nutrients of the dates. Time to get to tips on how to give up refined sugar. My first tip is planning. Plan your sugar detox. If you're in a place right now where you're having sugar every single day and you know you're not feeling good, you know you're kind of feeling sluggish, you're craving it every single day, think about this as an actual sugar detox so you can set yourself up for success. So I would plan just for the next 3 weeks, 21 days to make a habit, right? So see if you can do this for 3 weeks. And I would actually start by getting out a piece of paper or opening your notes app and just writing down what you typically eat in a day. You don't have to get super detailed about this. You just want to kind of figure out what the places are that you're eating sugar in your day, so you can figure out healthy substitutes for that. It's possible to just completely change everything and give up everything in one day. And I'm sure some people have success with completely doing that. If you think this might be tricky and after 2 days you're gonna be like, screw this, I want my sweet things again, set yourself up for success by figuring out alternatives. When you look at the list you made of what you eat in a day, figure out where you can make swaps. If you start your morning with sugary cereal, that's a perfect place to throw in oatmeal. If you have lunch and then have a really sugary coffee drink, see if you can get like a really great oat milk or something to put in your coffee, which will give you some of that thickness. For dinner at night, if you're really used to eating ice cream every night, you can try making nice cream, which is, you know, pretty much just bananas blended up. You can put a little cacao powder in, make it chocolate. There are so many ways to kind of substitute our everyday foods with like beautiful plant foods that are super sweet, and you won't even miss the sugar. It's just really figuring out what you like to eat every day and figuring out really healthy swaps for it. Next tip is to properly fuel your body. You don't want to have moments of your day where you're starving. You're going to set yourself up for failure by doing that. 100% I would advocate trying a whole food, plant-based diet for this detox period. It fuels you with so much energy. This kind of way of eating is so much fuel, it's so much energy. You're not depriving yourself of anything. And like I mentioned, if you want to go completely sugar-free, it is best to kind of just go meal by meal and figure out what you're going to substitute. When you set yourself up with this plan, go grocery shopping, get all the things, and I do recommend meal prepping. This helps throughout the week if you're working during the week. When you set yourself up with a meal plan and do the prep work at the beginning of the week, it makes everything just so much easier. Exercise and sleep are so important to your success when you're going through this transition period. exercise and movement and then getting really good rest at night will ensure that your body is kind of like in fighting mode, ready for this challenge, ready to kind of make major changes in your life. When we short ourselves on sleep and when we don't move our bodies, it's harder to make really good choices and we kind of get depleted. Make sure you're getting a bunch of sleep. Make sure you're moving your body every day and you're feeling good inside. If you're a person that loves to kind of do some self-care morning routines, you get into meditation, do the things that make you feel really strong and good to kind of tackle this change in your life. You want to fuel yourself and set yourself up for success. Drink lots of water during this. I mean, you could probably say drink water for any kind of health challenge, and it is important. A lot of times when we think we're craving something, we are dehydrated and we are thirsty. So just have a giant thing of water, try to drink a couple of them a day, and make sure you are really well hydrated. Another tip for success is to manage your stress. A lot of times sugar can be used as a way to calm ourselves. It can be used as a way to make ourselves feel better. So make sure you are managing your stress. Like I said before, sleeping and exercise are both really helpful for managing stress, but also the things that you do to manage stress. So whether that is maybe you write in a journal, or you get up and you meditate, or you do this really great skincare routine at night that really helps with your stress. Do the things that help you manage stress. So again, you can be in like, you know, you're ready, you're in go mode, you're ready to take on a challenge. Another tip for success is to enlist help. So tell your family, tell your significant other what you're doing and what you're working on, and tell them why this is important for you and why you want to change this, how you want to feel. And I think when you enlist help and support, that can be really powerful for your transformation. It is you doing this, but it is really nice to have help and support from your loved ones. It just makes things even that much better, and they know how important this is to you, so they're not going to be tempting you with things that you're trying to get rid of, basically. So I think it is really helpful to tell our loved ones what we're doing, why we're doing it, and why this means so much stress. And if they love you, they're going to be supportive of you and trying to help you in this journey. Another tip is to try naturally sweet things. If you're used to having a lot of sugar in, let's say, your coffee, you can try cinnamon. Cinnamon has this really great, like, naturally sweet flavor. It adds a really nice kick to your coffee. Vanilla extract is also something that is really sweet. I sometimes use vanilla in my green smoothies. I have this banana bread green smoothie I'm obsessed with, and I actually use a little vanilla extract in there because of it kind of imparts the sweet vanilla flavor. I will link that green smoothie below too. It's so good. Other ways to kind of swap out sugar is to really use a lot of herbs and spices in your meals, in your lunch, in your dinner. Get a lot of natural flavor from those things rather than relying on it from sugar and from salt and oil. Citrus is another thing that adds this really kind of like zesty flavor, so you can kick up your smoothies, you can kick up your water with lemon, orange. It kind of like adds this really great flavor. Ginger is another thing that can kind of really add a lot of zest and flavor. I love adding ginger in smoothies. The taste is so refreshing. The next tip is to really watch out for restaurant food when you're eating out, and this is not the most fun tip, but guess what? You're challenging yourself to quit sugar because you want to feel better, and that is the most important thing. And even though that might mean it's a bummer if you are going out to eat and you can't really get anything or find things without a ton of sugar in, you have something in your heart that you want to do, a change you want to make. So just keep that in mind. I know it can kind of be a bummer. There's a lot of sugar hiding in restaurant food that we might not even think of, in sauces, in condiments, in pasta sauce. That's why I think for, you know, these 3 weeks, it might be really helpful for you to just plan to make all your own food, so you don't even have to worry about wondering, you know, what's in this, what's in this. Just plan to kind of do things yourself and create this really beautiful natural sugar lifestyle for yourself at home. This is one of the biggest tips, and it is to make sure you read labels. Sugar is literally hiding in so many foods at the grocery store and you wouldn't know. So it will not just say sugar or cane sugar. There's 5 million words for sugar. I'm gonna link up a blog post below with a list of different names for sugar. It's hiding in so much, so just train yourself to read labels, always. Maybe you wouldn't think that there is sugar in ketchup. There is. Maybe you wouldn't think that there's gonna be sugar in the marinara sauce you just bought. There is. It's in so much. You have to remember that whoever you're buying the marinara sauce, that's a business, and they're trying to create a great tasting product. And sugar makes things taste a certain way, sweet. It's easy to do that. It's easy to throw sugar in it. So, you know, that's a business that's making a product. You have a different idea in your mind of the kind of food that you want to eat and how you want to feel. So they can do their thing and make their marinara with sugar, and that's fine. And you can figure out something else that works for you. There are some brands who really have a focus of making cleaner food. I found a couple different brands of ketchup, of pasta sauce that I love. So I'm actually gonna create a whole section in my Amazon store of some of my favorite products, ketchup, pasta sauce that don't have sugar in it. And I will link up that whole section below. And make sure you find substitutes for your favorite things. So if the goal is to get rid of refined sugar, and you know, not to get rid of dessert, but get rid of refined sugar, maybe you can just make a really great, beautiful dessert that you can have at night until you really kicked the sugar habit and don't crave the dessert. If you're used to having ice cream at night, ice cream is such a good swap for that, and it is literally just really ripe frozen bananas blended up. You can flavor it with cacao powder. It's so good. There is going to be a blog post below with a lot of different swap ideas. Please check out that resource because I think it'll be really, really useful as you're making this change. Last tip, biggest tip, is get the sugar out of your house. Make this easy for yourself. If you are living with other people who love sugar, I don't know if they could hide it or just put it in a place where you don't have access to it, but there might be times when you're really craving it, and you want to make this as easy as possible for yourself to set yourself up for success. So if you have a bunch of chocolate bars in the house and that is like what you go to every night, get them out of the house. If you go to ice cream every night, get that out of the house. Just set yourself up for success in this. So hopefully you are ready and feel empowered to make this transition away from refined sugar. I, from the bottom of my heart, mean that it has changed so much in my life and has helped me just kind of level up my health and feel so much better. So I know that you can do this too, and it may be uncomfortable at first, but anything in life that's worth having might require some discomfort and growth to get there, and you got this. So if you have any questions about swaps or anything we just kind of went over and talked about, you can leave them below. I'm kind of obsessed with this topic and can talk about it all day. If you want to see more from me, you can subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification so you don't miss a video. I will be back next week with another plant-based health and wellness video, and I will see you then.